Good, good. A lot of times I like to start recording actually before the presentation because I've had people say that the something that was said prior to the presentation or even after, really resonated and got them thinking about things. Um, because I think the comments for me we're talking and having discussions prior to, gets me warmed up, gets me in state, gets me in flow. So I always like to just start the recording, ahead of time.
Mhm.
Um, I'll rely on, you know, the community's feedback. So if you're watching this recording of it, give me your feedback and you let me know what was the our commentary and our conversation prior to the presentation, was it valuable to you? Mindset is a big piece of life, of being in business, and um, it has such an impact on what we do and how we live our lives. But growing up, these type of things we don't discuss. We aren't taught, and so it's not common with us. And I think if, like, I live in Bali, so for me it's 8 in the morning, bright and early for me. And in Bali, there's a city in Bali, or a region called Ubud, and they're very health conscious. They're very uh, yoga, mindset, Zen, and I see people bringing their kids up in a meditation atmosphere, a yoga atmosphere, so they're more in tune and in touch with their bodies, and they understand early on how important how you think, and as important as how you think is your self talk. We haven't been taught and had conversations at a young age and even as adults about how important our self-talk is. And each morning I meditate and I do affirmations. And as I was, preparing myself for the presentation this morning and after meditation, I realized that my affirmations is really self-talk. It's me talking to myself, and because I do it repetitively, it helps. And there's many leaders that say, repetition is the key, to learning. It's like our ABCs. We sang our ABCs so many times, so the melody of it and then singing it over and over and over again, it sort of etched it. And we have just another minute or so before I do the presentation. Let some of our folks get on. Um, but I'll share my affirmations with you, what I do every morning. And there is really self-talk. It's me talking to myself and etching in part of my beliefs and how I should conduct and carry myself that day, starting myself off on the right foot. And the first one is that I choose to be happy. So today I choose to be happy. So we can wake up and be grumpy and then carry that out the house. And first person we see at the bus stop or at the train station or at the gas station or at Starbucks or at Mickey D's or Panera Bread, or if we go straight to the office, what we said to ourselves before we left about our day or how we feel or what state we're in, it gets passed on. So when you get in the office, someone says, "Oh, how's it going?" If you already said to yourself you're grumpy and you're carrying yourself to the car, drop your keys, and everything about your being is grumpy, it's going to get passed on to everyone else. So I start my day with that I choose to be happy. It's a choice, you know, so that's how I see it. I see it as a choice. My second one is I am grateful for everything I have and to what is to come. And for me, I think it's very important to one, acknowledge the fact that no matter how I'm feeling, no matter what I'm going through, no matter where I am in life, there's someone that wish they had my deck. They wish they had my hand because their situation is worse. We just had a big flood here in Bali. And I was very fortunate that I didn't get any damage. I can look right outside my door and I can probably see about 2 inches of water out there, um, which, it came from outside and rolled up into, my walkway. And I was like, wow, the water's pretty high, but no damage. But I could have been like, oh my God, look at all that water. It's going to be muddy tomorrow. I'm going to have to worry about cardboard. I'm going to have to worry about dust and trash that floated up. But in the big scope of things, it's nothing. People lost their homes. People's cars were flooded in other parts of Bali. So for me, I think it's very important to be appreciative and grateful for the fact that I am awake. You know, my eyes might be puffy, but I have sight. I have my senses. So that's sort of how I do it. My glass is always half full. That's kind of how I carry it. The third one is I am capable of achieving great things. And that's just, again, me believing in myself, telling myself that I am capable, I am worthy, and good things are to come. So that's my third one. And then the fourth one, and I talked about it a little bit in the slides, is focus. I choose to focus on what I can control. And a big piece of anxiety and people's unhappiness is they focus on things they can't control instead of focusing on things they can control that can have a positive impact on our lives. We can't control political beliefs. We can't control the weather. We can't control any of those things. But if we focus on the things that we can control, it empowers us to impact our lives in a positive way. But it can also impact our lives in a negative way, but ideally impact our lives in a positive way. And we take back the control that we've typically given to outside influences. I won't even say other people, but just outside influences. Um, and one of the things or the things that I focus on are my actions, what it is, that I do, my attitude is a big one. So I focus on my actions, my attitude, and the big one is my responses. Because we can, I hear people say, she made me so mad, or he made me so mad. No, they didn't. You interpreted that way, or you chose to respond that way, to let it affect you that way. They didn't do it. They didn't make you open your mouth. They didn't make you lash out. They didn't make you go to sleep. They didn't make you cry. You chose to internalize that outside stimulus and record and respond a certain way. And that's us again taking back our control. We control those things, but we don't have those conversations regularly amongst our friends. So it's not a routine that we do a lot. The next one is I embrace challenges and opportunities. We're always going to have challenges. A flat tire, running low on gas, but now we're stuck in traffic. I mean, all types of things. Battery is low. Oh my goodness, I got a call I got to make. My battery's low. All these different things happen. They're going to happen. And it's how we respond and how we look at those things determine how we'll come out on the other side. The next one is I am committed to continuously improving. And that's whether it's, usually after I meditate, I'm going to sit down and before I even go to my phone, I'm going to spend an hour learning something new, reinforcing something I learned the day before. And that's just me saying, I got to grow. I have to grow. I can't help other people if I'm not helping myself, if I'm not growing myself. And it just helps me become a better and more rounded person. And the last one is I choose to have a positive impact on people's lives. And that just helps me go beyond it being about me. In other words, if I'm not feeling good that day, if I don't, my energy is not very up that day, if I'm focused on making sure that I have a positive impact on other people's lives, when someone asks me, so how's it going? I'm not going to dump on them. I'm not going to dump on that person. I'm going to be like, oh, it's amazing. It's a great day. That's my opportunity to make them smile, make them happy, give some positive energy, no matter what my state is. People don't usually ask us how we're doing so we could dump on them. they really don't. It's just being courteous. It's kind of the thing to say, to do. But they got so much crap going on in their life. They really didn't ask that question so you could dump all your stuff on them. Really, they really did. There's some people that's their job, that's their position, but the average person isn't asking so you could dump on them. So I think the biggest piece for me, I think, of mindset is belief. And I'll end with this and then start the presentation. And whether it's a relationship, whether it's business, whether it's health, whether it's money, whatever that goal is that a person is trying to achieve or looking to achieve, I should say, belief is a key factor. And three aspects of it. One is first the belief that the goal exists. And it could be, I want to do a week eating vegan. And I guess you have to ask yourself, has anyone ever gone 1 week eating no meat, no dairy, eating vegan? If their answer is yes, that someone in the world has done it, then you have to believe that it's possible to go 1 week eating vegan, eating raw. It's possible. Make $1 million in a year. Has anyone ever done it? So that goal is possible to do. So the belief that it does exist. And then the second is the belief that you will obtain it. And that's that self-talk. And it's like recalling things that you wanted to do that you've done before to reinforce that you can do it. As opposed to, well, I know I tried to get a master's degree, but I didn't finish my last semester. Don't recall all the things that go against you accomplishing something. Recall those things, no matter how small they are. You made that recipe. That was a win. You set out to do something, you accomplished it. So reinforce what you're trying to do to help you believe that you can do it. And then once you have those two down, the fact that it does exist, you can and will do it, know that it's not going to be easy. So anything worthwhile is going to have some challenges, it's going to push you. But at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it. So know that no matter the challenges, it's going to be worth it. So one, that it exists. Two, that you're going to accomplish it. And three, it's going to be worth it. And if we frame the things that we're trying to accomplish in that way and put our energy towards that, there's no way we can't be excel here. And I believe we are ready to rock and roll. I have it in, make sure I have it in, let's make this a little smaller so it's out of the way. And I think we are ready to rock and roll. I'm pretty sure my internet is stable. I'm using my hotspot, so I don't have to worry about the Bali internet connection. But if you have trouble hearing me or if I fade out, unmute and let me know. So I want to welcome everyone to today's presentation on mindset of the CEO. I think mindset is such a very important aspect of how we live our lives, how we carry ourselves, and how we show up and perform in business. And here we're talking about transformative mindset shifts. Shifts that we have to do in our mindset that help us reach our entrepreneurial goals, help reach entrepreneurial success. So let's start. And first, we talked a little bit about it's your most leverageable asset. And that means you can recall it, you can utilize it as much, as often, in any time because you totally control it. Unlike money or capital, connections or circumstances, you have complete control over your mindset. And you can use it to positive impact what you're trying to do. And as I was saying earlier, it's self-talk. That self-talk is really very important. So we're going to talk about these 10 different mindset shifts that can help you in reframing or how we look at failures. You've heard people say that L is not for a loss, but it's for a lesson. So it's reframing our experiences. So every failure or every unsuccessful attempt gives us data. It gives us information about what doesn't work, about what to not do next time so it will work. So it's an old mindset of viewing setbacks and failures as something bad, but not looking at the value of it. And so instead, that new mindset is treating the failures as research, treating the losses as lessons. So that's a very important thing to think about, is shifting how you think about this information that you're getting as you try to accomplish a mission or a goal. Now, if we go on to the next one, is adopting radical ownership. And it's easy to um, put the blame on someone else as opposed to accepting 100% responsibility for something. And they talk about it being the blame game. So stop looking for who's at fault, and instead this. And when you look at others as being at fault, it's almost like you're a victim. You have no control over these things. So the blame game makes you the victim mentally. You're tied to these external focuses, these external things. You're allowing them to control you more than you being the captain of the ship, the architect of the plan. So internally focused and empowering yourself to do these things. So take ownership, radical ownership of the situation and your trajectory. And then you'll see that it's to your benefit and help you get closer to obtaining and reaching your goal. Again, accepting ownership of it and not being a victim of it. And then practicing selective ignorance, acknowledging those things that are useful and helpful to you and what you're trying to do, and ignore all of those distractions, those things that really don't positively impact where you're going. So ignoring all of that noise intentionally, those opinions that really have no positive impact or no significance whatsoever. So your mental bandwidth is limited, so you have to protect that space and focus only on those things that help you move the needle to where you're trying to go. So that third one is practice selective ignorance. Only accept in the things here that are important to you, that are useful to you, that are helpful to you, that are positive indicators and energy. And next, if we move on to the fourth one, it's some people say think in experiments versus commitments. And it's just it's just mental gymnastics. It's how you want to frame things. And what happens, I think, is if you frame it as experiment, and if it doesn't go 100% the way you want it to be, it's not as emotionally impacted. So lower the psychological stakes of what you're doing, and it increases your ability to make the decision to take bold moves because you're not internalized as emotionally. So they say you want to test this hypothesis. You're not failing, you're gathering data on what works. And that's similar to the previous slide. And then you want to switch up, adapt quickly. So if you notice that you're going down a path that isn't giving you positive results, don't quit, just shift. Just shift to add different techniques or a different route. Just don't quit. So just keep going and just shift how you do things, shift how you think about it. So emotionally, it doesn't have the same weight. It doesn't have the same impact. If you're totally in, it's do or die. So that's a way to frame it. The fifth one is you want to cultivate what they say is productive paranoia. So assume that it's not going to be smooth sailing. Assume that there will be disruptions. There's always disruptions in life. There's things that are going to kill your momentum. Um, but what doesn't kill you helps you. So you want to identify these threats ahead of time, identify these potential obstacles and things that could happen ahead of time. So if you identify them ahead of time, then you don't get surprised. And also, if you're proactive and looking at things that could potentially go wrong, looking at things that could potentially be challenging, then what you're able to do is be proactive and to Paulette, hi, welcome. Please mute out your mic, please. You can put up these defenses that help you with what you're trying to accomplish. Like then the slide says, diversify your revenue. So if you have multiple income streams from your business and not just one, if one gets disrupted, it doesn't throw you totally off kilt. Even in your personal life, the way you save, the way you invest, if you diversify, one thing doesn't totally throw you off kilt. In your relationships, whether it's a romantic relationship and your friends, if you have multiple channels to communicate and to grow personally and relationship wise, if your best friend goes away to Europe for a retreat or for an exchange, you have other people that you can communicate with to keep the flow going. So it's about diversifying, it's about being proactive. Now if we get to sixth mindset shift. Let's go hit this slide here. Here we go. Get to the sixth one. Is master. Oh, twice. Master the art of productive discomfort. In other words, when you go down paths that aren't familiar to you, you don't have muscle memory or mental muscle memory, you're going to be uncomfortable. There are aspects of your business, whether it's clients that are more difficult or less difficult, we tend to want to take the path of least resistance and call those clients that the conversations are more positive and less challenging. Well, we want to practice putting ourselves in those difficult situations, those difficult conversations to help build up that muscle, to help build up our comfort with being uncomfortable. And as we do that, it causes us to sharpen the sword, and we become bolder in our presentations, bolder in our approaches, bolder in our thinking, and allows us to shift and make adjustments to our overall approaches and our overall systems. So we don't want to shy away from the more challenging situations, because a lot of times those are the conversations, those are the challenges that give us the biggest steps ahead, the biggest advantages. So don't be afraid of putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. In fact, if you look at that working out, or I look at when I diet, there's certain things that I'm hesitant to want to give up, but those happen to be the things that give me the biggest impact or the biggest gains, or in this case, biggest losses. Sugar, sweets, those things. I hate to give those up, especially I'm a night owl. That's when I really go at it. But I know that if I say no to the sugars, if I don't buy them, I don't have the sweets in the house, I'm going to have a bigger impact on my overall outcome and goal. So don't shy away. Put yourself in those situations more often, and you're going to build that muscle, and you're really going to help yourself. So we look at 7. It's develop an investor's detachment. So investors don't think emotionally. One, they think more numerically, but they don't think emotionally to when they invest in something, whether it's investing their time, investing their money. So when you look at your business like a portfolio manager views stock, then you're passionate about your overall goal or objective or your mission, but very strategic, clinical about the metrics, about the lead and lag indicators of your business. So passionate about the mission, so deeply committed to the purpose, emotionally invested in the vision, unwavering dedication to the impact that you're going to have, but you're clinical, unemotional about the metrics, about the data, about decision making, about the necessity to shift, to pivot, to the type of clientele or the day of the week, morning versus night. Those little things don't have a big impact on you emotionally, because you put them in a category where they're less impactful. So that's developing the investor's detachment. Don't be as emotional about things. Make more numerical decisions. All right, so as we move on to the next, practice aggressive simplicity. I spent 8 years as an Army officer. And one of the things in the military, one of the sayings or acronyms is KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And then, people get politically correct about it, and they say, keep it simple, silly. Well, really, in the military, we say, keep it simple, stupid. So complexity kills execution. So if you can keep it simple, simple tasks, as simple as possible, but productive and effective, then it's much easier. So whether it's your project, your pitch, or your progress, dummy it down so the person that you're presenting to, for example, has a very easy time understanding what you're saying. And then later in conversations, communication, if you have to take it up, you can. But initially, make it simple. The most elegant solutions, they say, are usually the simplest ones, and they're the most effective ones. So focus on dumbing it down. Keep it simple. Keep your focus simple, simple steps. As we move on to the next one, it talks about building your identity and your base, and that's based on habits. How you show up for yourself. So if you look at behavior based versus identity based, and it's how you frame it. How do you think of yourself? How do you call yourself? How do you categorize your actions? So behavior based, for example, I need to network, versus identity based, I'm someone who builds relationships. So you're a relationship builder versus a need to network. Networking is a behavior, but a relationship builder is who you can identify yourself as, people who can identify you as a relationship builder. Something has more value in a community, in a setting for your business, just than as opposed to I need to network. I should exercise as opposed to someone is I'm someone who stays or believes in being healthy. The other is I have to read more. I am someone who's committed to continuous learning. So it's framing. It's again about framing your belief in how yourself. So this 10th one is about, and I talked about numbers, embrace asymmetric risk taking. So risk versus reward. So there's a little risk, but the upside of that risk is huge. So it's look for opportunities with limited downside. So there are some risks, but huge upside. So a failed project, you may say, if this doesn't work, I'm going to lose months. But a failed project where, yes, it could cost you months, look at the upside. A successful one can impact a decade. So again, it's about framing. So calculate what's the worst that can happen and can I live with it? And okay, if I can, what's the upside? Is the upside even greater? So this framework helps you take intelligent risks that compound over time. So at the bottom of the slide, it says limited downside risk, manage losses you can absorb. That's whether investing in business, whether in investing financially for your future, investing emotionally, but unlimited upside potential. So it might be a little discomfort up front, but major upside reward on the backside. So that's super, super important to think about. Now, this talks a little bit about the power of reframing failure. So when you treat setbacks as data, you treat that L as a lesson, then by reframing it, it makes you more willing to attempt to do things that you haven't done before, to do things that you believe can have positive impact for not only yourself, but others that you may be serving. So launch new initiatives with the hypothesis that you're always going to be gathering positive data. Sometimes this data is going to be what not to do next time, but more than not, it's data that you can build upon. You're going to be learning as you go. So this information is going to help you learn. Again, what not to do, what to do. And then it's iterate. It's as you get to a certain point, you need to adapt. The roads are not very passable on the left, so you got to go to the right. It's not lit on the right, so you got to go to the left. So iterate. So applied insights to the next version, so allow you to pivot. And the last, scale. This learning, taking what you learned from the last one and then adding it, and then adding it, and then adding it allows you to compound. So it's almost like compound interest, but from a learning perspective. But again, it all goes back to, as I talked about even before we got started, is your belief. Very important in believing in yourself, that self-talk. What are you saying to yourself? And, I heard someone make a statement, and I think it's so true. If we really sat down and we wrote down some of the things we say to ourselves, I heard this guy say that if you heard someone speaking to your brother or sister or speaking to your best friend the way that you talk to yourself, you punch them in the face. Think about that. If someone talked to your loved one, your BFF, the way that you talk to yourself, you probably wouldn't be too friendly to that person. So our self-talk is powerful, but it's also very, very important. And when we identify that and we shift it, we're unstoppable. So this slide talks about taking yourself out of the victim mode and putting you in the captain mode, the architect. And I talked about one of my affirmations, one of my daily affirmations is control, is controlling, focusing on the things that I can control, my actions, my attitude, my responses. So when you look at this pyramid, on the bottom, you're totally a victim when you feel you have no control. As you work your way up this pyramid, you go from having no control, and when you have no control, where are you focusing? You're not focusing anywhere productive because you don't believe that anything you do is going to have a positive impact on your results. But as you start focusing your energy, and they say where focus goes, energy flows. So if you start focusing your energy on you having more control, you start seeing that, okay, I'm going to have a little more, I can have more impact. Then as you focus on those things that you can control, you start having significant influence, significant impact. And then that self-talk and that confidence and that belief in yourself that you're capable, belief in yourself that you're destined for more, guess what? Now you take total control. So you yourself, how you think, the self-talk, your belief system takes you from being a victim. No one else takes their finger off the pulse and now you're no longer a victim. You totally have control and ability to do that. And that's what this slide is talking about. It's talking about you take control and going from a victim to a victor, having control. All right, the experience of mindset in action. So you talk about, and really this slide, there's a mistake on this slide. I caught it late last night, and this morning when I got up, I just didn't have the energy to change it. It should be day 1 to day 30, day 31 to day 60, day 61 to day 90 versus week. And it's about your setup phase. You define your hypothesis, your experiment. And previous slides talked about having an experimental approach instead of a commitment. Really, you're committing. But by framing it as an experiment, you're not as emotionally attached to it. It doesn't just break your heart if you have to adjust, if you have to iterate. So it's a mental gymnastics, but it's helpful. So define the hypothesis, establish metrics, and launch your minimal MVV, your minimal viable version of it, your possible version of it. Then you're collecting data as you go. So as you're proceeding, as you're implementing, you're analyzing information, you're identifying patterns, constantly gathering information and data to let you know, do you need to iterate? Do you need to continue moving forward? Now you're in Day 61, you're in that last part of the last 30 days of the 90, and you're at your decision point. Do I scale? Do I pivot? And all of this is based on the information that you gathered while you were taking action. The biggest thing that this talks about is that you're taking some action and then you're evaluating as you go, not criticizing yourself as you go. You're evaluating, looking for learning points, looking for signs on what you need to do next, how you need to proceed. And again, I think the most important thing about all of this, these slides have a lot of information on it, but I just want to again touch on something I touched on at the very, very beginning, and it's about belief. It's about whatever it is you're attempting to accomplish. And I think if you frame it with these three things in mind, then you'll have the confidence to begin and move forward and continue going on. And in a second, I think we'll talk about the mission, but it's one that you believe the goal is attainable, whether it's starting a business, building a successful business, whether pursuing a relationship, whether it's health oriented. Has anyone ever done it before? Does it exist? Is it possible? And if it's yes, then you have the belief that it's possible and that it can be accomplished. Next is, will you accomplish it? You have to believe that you will accomplish it. And you can fortify that belief by recalling little wins you've had along the way, not focusing on things that didn't happen, but those little wins. And they all fortify that belief that you can and will accomplish it. And the last thing, because it's going to be challenging and because you're going to test and push yourself, the third one is that you know it's going to be worth it when you do accomplish it. And if you keep those three things in mind and always look at those things, it'll help. Now, building your discomfort practice. Again, putting yourself in challenging situations. I do it all the time when I go to the gym, when I go to my Pilates classes, the extra rep, the instead of my having my feet down on the bottom part of the base, I have it up on the rail. It's again putting myself in situations where I'm uncomfortable and have to push myself, because that uncomfort zone is where the growth happens, is where the magic happens. If you're constantly staying comfortable with where you already are, you're not going to improve and not going to grow. So it's okay to embrace this discomfort. Seek it out. Seek the small suffering. So weekly discomfort appointments. So that client, that type of customer, that type of client that's always challenging, always asking questions, always give you the business, as they say, in a challenging way, that's where the growth lies. That's where the biggest reward lies. Monthly stretch goal. So you have a goal, and then you have that stretch goal. Push yourself. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations, in an uncomfort mode. And then quarterly comfort zone audits. So quarterly look back and audit, identifying areas where you become too comfortable and need to push the boundaries and push yourself more. So again, it's reframing. It's knowing the things that you can do that's in your control to help you grow. And the more you push yourself in these ways, guess what? It also causes you to be able to have more of a positive impact on those that you serve, those that you help, to include family. So these things extend beyond business, but they extend into your personal life as well. Again, talk about the simplicity framework. I told you back in the military, we had an acronym called KISS, keep it simple, stupid. So the simpler, the better. So one, identify, your core value. What's the one thing that matters most to your customers? And focus on that. Eliminate the non-essentials. So there's just the facts, Jack. So all the fluff and the extra stuff, don't even worry about that. It's the one thing, the one pain point, the one thing that's most important to your customer. Focus on that. 3, optimize what remains. Can any of the other things enhance the process? So your main focus is here, but are there some things that can reinforce that can help be beneficial? And then repeat regularly. Repetition is the mother of success. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Jim Rohn said that. I heard it from Tony Robbins because Jim Rohn was his mentor. Now, as we continue on, and we're about done here, and then I'll open it up. Identify transformation examples. So look at the examples of where you want to trade. So the shift from behavior based to identity based, and you have to sort of practice this. So ultimately becomes second nature. You don't even think about it. Like in the beginning when we were kids, we had to learn how to brush our teeth. Now we're watching videos, reading emails, kind of talking to people while we're brushing our teeth. It's subconscious. We don't even think about it. Tying our shoes. We've had so much practice at it that we don't even think about it. It went from being difficult and uncomfortable to unconscious. We don't even think about it. And so that's how repetition helps you when it comes from going from behavior based to identity based. Instead of just a networker, you're a relationship builder. I naturally connect with people and create value through relationships. A relationship builder versus just a networker. The continuous learner. I constantly seek new knowledge and apply insights immediately. And you can practice by teaching other people what you're learning. The solution creator. Instead of identifying problems, you focus on solutions. So you see problems as opportunities, naturally develop innovative solutions. So it's shifting from, again, a behavior-based mindset to identity-based mindset or thinking. All right, after this one, we have one more slide and then I'll open it up. So here's where the numbers come in. So calculating your asymmetric risk. So the most successful entrepreneurs master the art of asymmetric risk taking. And they consistently find opportunities where the potential upside far exceeds the risk. So probability of major success. So even low probability can justify the risk when the upside is massive. That's the 10%. Manageable downside. So worst case scenario is survivable or recoverable. And then 1000% is potential upside. So success could transform your entire business or life trajectory, depending on what you're talking about at the time and what you're measuring. And so here's what they talk about. This mathematical approach to risk moves the emotion totally away from this decision-making process. It's numerical. So you think numerical versus emotional, and allows you to consistently make better choices over time. 10% versus 1000%. So you use the number to your advantage. So now let's recap what these 10 mind shifts are. So asymmetric thinking or asymmetric risk taking. We just covered that. All right. Identity-based habits. Radical ownership. You own it. Failure as data. So instead of a loss, it's a lesson. Aggressive simplicity. Keep it simple. Selective focus. Focus on things that you can control. You can control your actions. You can control your attitude. You can control your responses. Those simple things that you can control, it empowers you. Experimental thinking versus it's do or die. It's an experiment. I can iterate, experiment some more. I can iterate, experiment some more, and it doesn't hurt you emotionally. Productive paranoia. So understanding, anticipating that there are going to be challenges and being proactive and being prepared. Discomfort practice. Put yourself in those zones of uncomfort so you can grow, so you can build that muscle. And then investor detachment. Invest into your endeavors with less emotion and more thought, more intention. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then discussions that anyone would like to have before we called it a day. So hopefully you found if you're watching the replay, that you found prior to the start of the presentation, the dialogue, the communications to be impactful and helpful. And then now you can ask any questions you like. And if someone's watching a replay, they'll get to have the benefit of enjoying or getting reward from what we talk about here. So, any questions you might want to have or comments you have, you can unmute yourself and let's have at it. And I really appreciate and salute you all for taking time out of your Thursday evening. There's some people that have been in happy hour already for a few hours, and you took your time to learn and grow. So I want to salute you for that and acknowledge your greatness for that. Dominique, any questions you have, or Miss Paulette, any questions or comments?
So I don't necessarily have a question, but just like a comment, like for
Mm-hmm.
the transformative mindset, because I know like
Mm-hmm.
I spoke before when you were talking about the mindset of the CEO for
Mm-hmm.
that first module,
Sure.
about having like that what is it called? Imposter syndrome. Like a lot of
Yes.
times.
Mm-hmm.
So, like people think like, okay, well, the business isn't really coming. So am I really the right person for this business? Or, what if like all of those what if start to come in and you start thinking like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm not the right person for this type of business. So I feel like this is really helpful with it. Like reframing those failures as data, like that's a good way of thinking about that. And that also
Sure.
will like, kind of transform that imposter syndrome and turn it into a positive as well. So I really like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the imposter syndrome is self-talk. There's nobody else there but us. It's self-talk. And the most important thing I think that you said or that you did is you identified it as imposter syndrome. And once you identified what it was, you can say, okay, I could change that. I can change that. So live in it for the moment. Listen to your mind, listen to yourself, but then shift, counter all those things because it's going to come up. And you only have that imposter syndrome when it's tough. When it's smooth sailing and you get off a call and they just sent you money or they want to sign up again or whatever it is, they want your services, you don't have those. It's only when it's slow, it's only when it's tough, and it's that part of our mind that's there to protect us, that push us back into a safe zone. So that's all that is. It's that part of our mind throwing those messages out there so it tells us to back up and go where it's safe. That's all imposter syndrome is. Avoid danger. No, you shouldn't do this. That's all that is our mind trying to push us back into a comfort zone where we can be safe. So yeah. So I'm glad this gives you some tools and a way to reframe it and think about it. And that's really what it is about, just reframing it. But understand that no matter how much we wish it or we pray it, our mind is very old and is very powerful, and those messages are going to continue to come back. And it's nothing wrong with you that those messages continue to come back. You just have to identify it, live in it for a minute, and then shift. By identifying it and not panicking and saying, oh, that's just imposter syndrome, then you can shift. You know what it is. You don't have to stay there. You can shift and just give yourself a couple sayings or something that is your go-to every time you get yourself in that imposter syndrome mode. Have a few things, two affirmations to help you get out of it. That's all. And through repetition, you're going to get in that zone, live in it, pity party for a minute, and then get out of it. That's the best way. You can't avoid it. You just have to empower yourself with tools to help you get out of it. So I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm glad it's been helpful. Miss Paulette, how are you this evening? I know it looks like you're driving. I'm not sure if you're able to
I am
talk.
great. I'm great, but
Good,
I'm
good.
I'm listening and I got it on. I was getting my nails done at relatives' house. She do them out of her home. And I'm like, oh man, I kept saying 8 o'clock. But I'm glad I caught on at where I'm
Good.
like, because I gotta get on board. I need this like from the day one that you all came and gave the free introduction. I knew this is where I needed to be. And just listening to the young lady, I don't quite remember what her name was, but I get
Stacy.
that imposter syndrome where I'm always like, I was
Oh,
just at a
Dominique.
pop-up last week, and the beginning of it was kind of, slow. I don't think they advertised a lot. I know I didn't. I had some things going on with my mom, and they didn't, whoever was hosting it. But the minute I started selling, the minute that feeling just went away. But right before that, I was thinking like, oh man, they didn't advertise. I didn't advertise. And it went that way. But then now right back, the pop-up's gone. I'm back at home. I'm in the house, create more things. I'm like, okay, do I keep creating? In my case, of what I've been doing is trying to do work on the side because I've been on workman's comp. So I've been trying to do work
Hmm.
from home. And I'm back at it
Sure.
again. I just talked to a wholesale lady today and she was giving me some pep talk. Just go out there. My thing is always thinking somebody else is doing it. Is it going to work? So, like you say, ain't nobody talking to us but us. So I can't
Hmm.
wait to go to the replays, to go back to listen to 1 through 5 and just listen to it all over again, and even the other replays. I am in
Sure.
this. Finances ain't there, but I know I waste and spend $37 easily for anything. So someone giving me some education, I'm here. I am here. I had to set my reminder, but this is good. I'm gonna go back over again, like I said, through the first part of it, but this was some good gems. I like what she said. I like what you said in terms of just refocus, just go back and redirect your
Hmm.
mindset. I was listening to my Angelo this morning, so I'm gonna start doing that in the mornings. Giving yourself those foundations before you go out in the world and listen to everything else somebody else got going on. Their problems, their this, their that. Ground yourself first before you get outside and do it. Ignore that phone call sometimes. It's just a lot of things that I thought it was, I ain't gonna say too late, because I'm 56. And I'm like, oh, I done this, I done that, but I'm gonna go at it again. I'm gonna just keep pushing. Yeah.
Can't stop, don't stop. Can't stop, don't stop. I think you'll find the very beginning of and Dominique, that's just what I was saying, that it's important, I think, to record what we talk about and the things that are said prior to the actual start of the presentation. One of the things, Ms. Paulette, that I shared was my daily affirmations, my routine I do every morning. I pray, I meditate, and then I do journaling. And in my journaling, I write down my 7 daily affirmations, which are self-talk. And after that, I spend an hour, no phone, no anything, just learning something. So it doesn't. Now, fortunately, I have time flexibility, so I'm a night owl. So there's times where I'll get to working on something on the computer. I'll get to writing or practicing some things, or researching some things. Me and Chat go heavy. Chat GPT, we go at it hard. We go back and forth hard. And next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, okay, I still got to get my rest. So when I go to sleep, when I wake up, if it's at 1 p.m., I still have to do my same routine. I still have to pray. I still have to meditate. I still have to do my journaling. I still have to get my 1 hour of learning in before I open up to anything else. So that goes to what you're talking about, Ms. Paulette, is spending time with you first, empowering you first. So I think you enjoy the very first part of the replay when you go back. You'll enjoy that part of it. Well, I'm glad that
Yeah.
the information here you find it to be helpful. Dominique, I appreciate you again taking your time to jump on and you sharing and allow me the honor to share with you and Miss Paulette. I'm glad that you were able to fit us in after getting your nails done. I'm sure your nails did. They're looking like nice and lovely right about now. You're feeling great about yourself. That little self-love. You can't ever get enough of that self-love.
Yeah, that's a
And,
form of self-care. Yeah.
for sure, you got to get that self-care in. And I hope you enjoy
Yes,
the
I'm so
replay.
glad I got on this. I need
Yes.
this. I'm gonna enjoy. I'm gonna listen to it tonight. Yeah.
Good, good,
Thank
good,
you so
good, good.
much.
Put some comments in. Put comments in the community, and let us know what you thought about it, and encourage other people to jump on and watch the replay, and maybe they'll get some benefit out of it as well. All right.
All
Well,
right.
ladies,
Thank you.
again, I thank you so much for uh, taking time to jump on and giving me the honor and the privilege to be able to share with you and get your feedback. So I really appreciate it. Like I said, I told Miss Dominique earlier that I'm in Bali, so it's early in the morning for me, and I'm a night owl. So I was actually up till 4 in the morning. So when
Oh, wow.
my alarm went off at 6, I was like, woo wee. But you know, you got to do it. So, and I'm happy I did. So y'all made it very much worth the while, and I appreciate you, ladies. You take care and have
Appreciate
a
you.
beautiful evening and have an amazing weekend coming
All
up.
right.
Okay,
Thank
we'll
you.
talk to you in the chat. We'll talk to you on
Absolutely.
okay. Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye bye.
All
You're
right,
welcome.
Dominic.